What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Combat Sports Media YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about, preview, breakdown, and try to give out a prediction for the upcoming WBO World Welterweight title fight between Shawn Porter and champion Terrance Crawford. Now, before I go any further, I would just like to apologize to all my subscribers for being inactive on YouTube as of late. Part of the reason for that is because a lot of negative things have been going on in the sport of boxing. There isn't much to talk about, and on my channel, we like to talk about fights that are signed, sealed, and are just waiting to get delivered. I don't like to talk about the business side of things. I don't like to talk about my pound-for-pound list. I don't like to talk about the fights that I wish would happen. So that's part of the reason why I've been inactive. The other reason is I've been extremely busy lately, but don't worry, I'm looking to try to get back on track and be more active. And hopefully, we're looking at a busy fall, so a lot more videos are to come, and a lot more different things as well are going to happen, hopefully, on this channel. So without further ado, let's get to the topic at hand. It's Shawn Porter versus Terrance Crawford. I know a lot of you guys, your hardcore fans, have been waiting for this fight to go down. There's been talk of a purse bid happening for a while, and so it's a good fight for Terrance Crawford to please the so-called hardcore fans of the sport of boxing, because since he's moved up to the welterweight division, in the hardcore fans' eyes and point of view, he hasn't really fought nobody, and his resume is extremely thin. Now, I do agree with that. However, I would just like to point out, at least Crawford moved up and won a real title against somebody. He didn't win a vacant belt or anything like that. It was against Jeff Horn, and Jeff Horn was coming off of a win against Manny Pacquiao. And I know that win was controversial. In my opinion, Jeff Horn did win a close fight. But no matter what your opinion is, that was a close fight. Jeff Horn was the champion, WBO champion, and he tried to defend his belt against Crawford, and Crawford beat him in fantastic fashion. And the reason why I'm talking about the Jeff Horn fight right now is because, number one, he is a little underrated. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's not American. Now, I know, I'm not saying he's skilled, especially at the top level. He's not considered a skilled fighter. However, his total sum is not bad. He's not a bad fighter. He's big for the welterweight division. He's physical for the welterweight division, and he is strong and has a good work rate. Is extremely durable, and he brings it. Has great conditioning to back all that stuff up. So when you add all those attributes up, that's a problem for most people in the welterweight division. And stylistically, he's probably the most similar opponent to Shawn Porter that Crawford has faced yet in his career. When you think about it, Jeff Horn, who is was a formidable champion at the time that Crawford beat him, and is probably his second or best win at the welterweight division since he moved up. Jeff Horn is coming straight at you, bringing the pressure, bringing the volume, and trying to just break you down and make it a messy and ugly and physical fight, much like Shawn Porter is going to try to do, or presumably try to do, in his fight with Crawford. Now, stylistically, I think that's a fantastic style for Crawford. I think Crawford will chew up almost anybody that's going to come at him like the way Jeff Horn did and like the way Shawn Porter is most likely going to do. Now, some of you might say, oh, well, Shawn Porter is versatile. We've seen him not fight like that, specifically against Ugas, where he used in and out movement more and he tried to box a little bit. But at the same time, how good did he look doing it? A lot of you think he actually lost the Ugas fight. So when it comes down to it, Shawn Porter is basically a football player in a boxing ring, and that's what he's always going to be. He's a strong, physical. He's going to come at you with volume, try to make it dirty, messy, and outwork you, just like what Jeff Horn tried to do with Crawford. And we all saw how that turned out. Crawford is extremely skilled. In my opinion, he's the best fighter in the world right now. But I just can't call him that because resume-wise, he's nowhere near being pound for pound number one. I shouldn't say nowhere near, but his in my opinion, Crawford's resume is extremely weak for the amount of talent and ability that he has. Okay? For the amount of talent and ability that Crawford has, his resume is extremely weak, and he, in my opinion, he hasn't challenged himself as much as he probably could and should have. He's going to hit a home run. You know, this is like pitching a fastball to Mark McGwire. He's going to hit it out of the park, just like what he did with Jeff Horn. Stylistically, it's the best fight for Crawford in the welterweight division. I mean, or at least one of the best stylistic matchups for Crawford in the current landscape in the welterweight division. You know, Shawn Porter, let's go over some specs. He's probably around about 5'7", 5'8", maybe. He's extremely heavy, and he started his career out at super middleweight. He has wins over the likes of Yordenis Ugas, which was controversial, Danny Garcia. He had a close fight with Keith Thurman. Notice how none of these guys are anywhere near as good as Crawford. He lost to Kell Brook decisively when Kell Brook was at his best. He lost to Keith Thurman, as I mentioned before, in an extremely close and exciting fight. And I want to give Shawn Porter credit. He lost an extremely close and exciting fight to the current WBC and IBF champion in Errol Spence. Some people actually think he won that fight. So that's probably, in my opinion, his most impressive performance to date. I don't care if he lost that fight on paper. That was his best performance yet in his career. He also has a win over Adrian Broner, which at the time looked a lot better than it does today, considering how Adrian Broner fell off. Not that he was on top at the time either, but and then, let's switch over to Crawford. Crawford, as far as his specs are concerned, he's naturally the smaller guy going into this fight, which is the only advantage that Porter has, because Porter technically did start at super middleweight, I think, in the professional game. And Crawford, as we all know, won his first world title at 130. So Crawford did start out very light. He holds wins over Gamboa. His most impressive and formidable win, in my opinion, is against Victor Postal for the WBC 140-pound title, right after Postal came off that title-winning effort against Lucas Matisse, in which he brutally finished Matisse on HBO. He showed both boxing ability and punching power in that fight with Matisse. And it was very impressive how Crawford was able to pretty much win almost, it was a one-sided fight. He was backpedaling the whole fight, using lateral movement. He used the ring really well in that fight. It was not exciting at all, but Postal just wasn't able to get anything done in that fight. He did borderline outclass him. Let's be real. That was, in my opinion, the most impressive performance yet in Crawford's career. He hasn't fought anybody as good as Postal after or before. Porter is arguably as good as Postal was at the time, but stylistically, he's just a great matchup for Crawford. So, this matchup is a foregone conclusion in my opinion. I see. Oh, that's another thing. Porter doesn't even have good punching power at the elite level. So it's not like, for those of you that hope that Crawford, because the only bad thing about Crawford as being a fighter is concerned is sometimes he has defensive lapses, or when he doesn't really have respect for his opponents, his defense can get sloppy. But even if it does in this fight and Porter catches him with a good shot, I don't see. Porter's he's not a hard puncher, He's actually kind of notorious for not being a hard puncher at the elite level. So, this is a foregone conclusion. I'm happy for all you hardcore boxing nerds that you guys are now gonna be happy because Terrance Crawford, quote unquote, fought a real welterweight, even though I think he already did a few times for that matter. Let's be real. Is Benavidez any worse or better than Keith Thurman? They're probably on the same level, right? All these motherfuckers are on the same level, man. Don't you get it? Danny Garcia, Shawn Porter, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, all these motherfuckers are on the same level, man. I think Terrance Crawford is better than them all, but this is, I guess, the beginning of improving that or whatever. But like I said, in my opinion, the motherfuckers that he fought on the top ranked side were, who's to say that Kavaliauskas and Benavidez aren't on the same level or close to the same level as a Danny Garcia or a Keith Thurman, All these motherfuckers are on the same level, man, except for Terrance Crawford. He's above all of them, even though he's naturally the smaller guy. But, if you want to be for real, Manny Pacquiao was above all these guys for the longest time until he turned 1,000,000 years old, So my final prediction is probably late round TKO for Terrance Crawford. Terrance Crawford is going to win no matter what, whether it's decision or by knockout, but I'm going with a late round TKO. But mark Terrance Crawford now for the win, guaranteed. Thank you for coming to my channel. Thank you for subscribing. Hit the like button. I'm going to have more shit coming through. Thank you very much as always. You all have a good day, good evening. God bless.